Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea, is situated on the northern part of the Korean peninsula, with Pyongyang as its capital and a population of approximately 25 million people. Notably, it stands among the few remaining countries worldwide that adhere to communist ideology, referring to its system as Jush, translated as self-reliance. The country's nuclear program has become a significant factor contributing to geopolitical tensions. Presently, North Korea is widely regarded as one of the most closed countries globally, with strict limitations on entry and exit, and the government exercises complete control over the internet and other communication means. This prompts the question, how did the country reach this situation? Korea's rich history spans millennia, originating in the 7th century BCE. It endured numerous wars, invasions, and dynasties, safeguarding its distinct culture, language, and traditions. In the 19th century, imperial powers, including Japan, Russia, China, and the United States, expressed interest in Korea. In 1910, Japan annexed Korea, subjecting it to colonial rule until the end of World War II in 1945. This period witnessed harsh exploitation and prohibitions on language, religion, and education, leading to resistance and dreams of independence among Koreans. After World War II, Korea was liberated from Japanese occupation but divided into two zones of influence, North and South. The Soviet Union controlled the northern part, while the southern part came under the influence of the United States. This division aimed to prevent the spread of communism in Asia and establish a regional balance of power. In practice, it led to the emergence of two opposing regimes, each seeking reunification under its terms. In 1948, North Korea proclaimed the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, with Kim Il-sung, a former partisan supported by Stalin, becoming its leader. Kim Il-sung founded the Kim dynasty, which continues to rule the country. Initiating reforms to build a communist society based on the Jush ideology, he concurrently developed North Korea's military and industrial strength to compete with South Korea and other capitalist nations. In 1950, taking advantage of South Korea's perceived weakness, Kim Il-sung initiated a war for Korean reunification under his control. Supported by the Soviet Union and China, he invaded the South, facing fierce resistance from South Korea and its US-led allies. The war lasted 3 years, resulting in immense losses on both sides. The 1953 armistice established the border between North and South Korea along the 38th parallel, but a formal peace treaty was never signed, leaving the countries technically in a state of war. Post-armistice, fearing a loss of power, Kim Il-sung cultivated a cult of personality, aiming to create an image of an ideal revolutionary and wise ruler. Seeking independence from Soviet and Chinese influence, he dubbed himself the Great Leader and Father of the Nation, portraying his Jush ideology as solely correct and unsurpassed. However, these aspirations led to a crisis and famine in the country. To maintain the cult of personality, Kim Il-sung employed various propaganda means, controlling information sources and prohibiting criticism. He crafted a mythical biography, attributing feats and miracles to himself, such as being born under a double rainbow and claiming to be a prolific writer and genius in military strategy and diplomacy. In the end, Kim Il-sung became a dictator, establishing a rigid system of control and repression that encompassed all aspects of the population's lives. People were deprived of freedom of speech, press, assembly, religious practices, and movement. He categorized the population into 3 classes: loyal, neutral, and hostile, based on their political loyalty and background. Kim Il-sung created an extensive network of concentration camps where those deemed as opposition, dissidents, or simply undesirable elements were sent. According to some estimates, more than 1 million people perished or suffered in these camps. He also aimed to develop a nuclear and missile program to ensure the country's military superiority and protection from external threats. Deepening cooperation with the Soviet Union and China, he obtained technologies and resources from them. In 1985, North Korea became one of the last countries to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. However, in 1993, it became the first to withdraw, refusing international inspections of its nuclear facilities. This escalated tensions with the international community, especially with the United States, which imposed sanctions on North Korea and attempted to achieve its denuclearization through diplomatic negotiations. Kim Il-sung died in 1994. passing power to his son Kim Jong-il and thus becoming the world's first leader to break the tradition of Marxist-Leninist leadership. Kim Jong-il continued his father's policies, intensifying them. He asserted himself as the dear leader and son of the nation, posthumously naming his father the eternal president and the great son, consolidating his power through the military, which he prioritized in resource allocation and budgeting. Kim Jong-il declared the policy of Sun Gun, military first, prioritizing military interests over everything else. He also continued to develop nuclear and missile programs, conducting several nuclear tests and launching ballistic missiles towards Japan and the Pacific Ocean. Kim Jong-il rejected dialogue with the international community, ignoring UN resolutions and denuclearization demands. Kim Jong-il was one of the most isolated leaders globally, rarely traveling abroad and not meeting with foreign leaders. He suffered from diabetes, heart problems, and obesity. His death in 2011 was announced on television with great sorrow and mourning. Then, all power passed to the dictator's son, Kim Jong-un, who became the third generation of the Kim dynasty. He now calls himself the supreme leader and the wise marshal, while his father and grandfather are referred to as the eternal leaders and the great marshals. The successor not only preserved his father's policy but also perfected it. He conducted several nuclear tests, including a hydrogen bomb explosion, and launched intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching US territory. Kim Jong-un strengthened his cult of personality, erecting numerous monuments and museums in honor of his family. He also eliminated political opponents, including his uncle Jang Song-theek and his half-brother Kim Jong-nam, accusing them of betrayal and conspiracy. The new dictator continued to uphold a system of repression and control over the population, living in conditions of poverty, hunger, isolation, and fear. Kim Jong-un became the world's youngest leader, assuming power at the age of 27 or 28. The exact age, unfortunately, is unknown. He received his education in Switzerland under a false name. Kim Jong-un's interests include basketball, computer games, and Western music. He has met with several foreign leaders, including US President Donald Trump, but made no progress on the issue of denuclearization. Today, North Korea possesses the world's largest army relative to its population, with approximately 10% of all North Koreans serving in the military. Additionally, the world's largest stadium, the Mayday Stadium in Pyongyang, accommodates 150,000 spectators and is used for hosting mass gymnastics shows known as Arirang. North Korea is the only country to have abducted a renowned director and actress to make films for its leader. In 1978, Kim Jong-il, the son of Kim Il-sung and future leader of North Korea, abducted South Korean director Shin Sang-ok and his wife, actress Choi Eun-hee, forcing them to make films for him. They escaped from North Korea in 1986. Furthermore, the country erected the world's tallest monument to its leader, a 22-meter statue of Kim Il-sung in Pyongyang, reaching 30 meters including the pedestal. However, North Korea remains one of the poorest and least developed countries globally, relying on humanitarian aid and smuggling. It violates human rights not only within the country but also beyond its borders, engaging in the abduction of foreign citizens, terrorist acts, and cyber attacks.